Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today to hear our proposal on the Fort Lauderdale Aquatic Center. A special thank you to all of the judges as well as ABC. We are Keen Action Construction representing the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. Today we'll be talking about a brief company background, our key schedule milestones, our estimate breakdown, as well as highlighting our quality and safety programs along the way. I'm Logan Neeson, your Senior Project Manager.
I'm Shelby Kraus, your Superintendent.
I'm Doug Carker, the Director of Pre-Construction.
And I'm Quentin Ball, your Site Safety Manager.
A little company background on Keen. We were founded in 1957, giving us roughly 66 years of industry experience. We've also been a merit shop employee-owned company since 1973. Our main office is also located in Fort Lauderdale, a convenient 4 miles from the Fort Lauderdale Aquatic Center. I would like to thank ABC's STEP Management Program for helping us create a robust safety program that has helped us achieve our 0.61 EMR rating. All of our employees at Keen Action are Vital Cog trained. We believe in the mental health and physical health of all of our employees on site. Being the site superintendent, I value the mental health of all employees on site and will actively monitor their mental health and point them towards the necessary resources if need be. At Keen, we utilize safety, quality, integrity, diversity, and community as our guiding principles. We believe in a strong deliverable project for all of our clients and the well-being of all of our employees. I would like to highlight some of our past projects with similar scopes of work to the Fort Lauderdale project. First, the Elk Grove Aquatic Center. This project featured a 50-meter competition pool, 2 28-foot water slides, and an abundance of concrete. We learned many valuable lessons on pouring concrete in hot weather conditions that can be very valuable to the Fort Lauderdale project. Secondly, the Kendall Campus Aquatic Center. This project featured a 50-meter competition pool, and dive tower. We utilized crawler cranes for this project and learned many valuable lessons on material placement on small project sites similar to the Fort Lauderdale project. Our timeline for phase 1 of this project, assuming we get the notice to proceed this coming Friday, March 15th, will lead us with a substantial completion of May 11th of 2024. I would like to highlight our 6 key milestones for this phase. In 2026, we will have the completion of our dive tower in February, our bleachers poured in June, and building A and B complete in August. In 2027, we'll have the fill of all of our pools, our asphalt parking lot complete, and the final test of all of our pool equipment. For phase 2, assuming we get the notice to proceed in May 27th, however, we are able to start this sooner if we get help from our owners sooner, will lead us with substantial completion in December 27th of 2027. Our key 3 milestones for this will be our placement of our slab on grade in June, our locker install in August, and finally our building drying complete in September. I would now like to hand it over to Logan to talk about our site utilization plan.
Looking at our site utilization plan, we will install a site fence with a privacy screen along with the adjacent silt fence around the perimeter of the site. Our primary site access will be through Southeast 5th Street, seen in the top right corner of the screen, with a secondary site access on Hall of Fame Drive. At our primary site access, we'll have a guard shack. This will help with deliveries as well as general site security. We also install floating turbidity barriers as well as the manatee protection grates in the designated locations. As far as delivery routes go, our main entrance and exit will be through the Southeast 5th Street entrance, but we will open up a secondary entrance on Hall of Fame Drive when staging deliveries is needed. For our demolition plan, we've broken out into 6 zones. Zone 1 will cover the relocation of the statue and trees as well as the demolition of the teaching pool. Zone 2 will cover the demolition of the dive pool and competition pool and surrounding features. Zone 3 will cover the bleachers, pool equipment, and other storage facilities. Zone 4 will be the selective demolition on the competition pool for the remodel, and Zone 5 will be the parking area and surrounding features. Zone 6 will be that south building that will be phase 2 of our project. These are our 2 main excavation zones on this site. Zone 1 is the new dive pool, and Zone 2 is the new competition pool. In these areas, these will also be our main concrete pours on site. We have our pump truck located on the north side of both of these sites. We also have a secondary pump truck on site in case our primary malfunctions. For our phase 2 site utilization plan, we'll relocate our site fence to surround that south building to protect the public, as well as moving our primary site access to Hall of Fame Drive. I'll now pass it off to Quentin. He's going to talk about our top safety hazards on this project.
Thank you, Logan. Safety means everyone at Keen, myself included. I grew up with a carpenter as a dad, And there was some days where I worried that he might come home injured. And I wanted to make it my promise and my duty to ensure that everyone on site is protected. And hazard mitigation is one of those big points. We're a proactive construction company. And I want to talk about some of the mitigation practices we'll be using on your guys' site. For two top safety hazards specifically, those being demolition and the staff and public interface. Beginning with demolition, as seen on the map, it indicates exactly where their phase 1 and phase 2 demolition procedures will be. Phase 1 is highlighted in red, while phase 2 is highlighted in blue. Keene will be using our abatement and demolition plan to ensure that all tasks necessary to mitigate risk have been completed prior to demolition beginning. We'll also have a full discussion of the serious risks with demolition and how to mitigate it prior to demolition beginning. On top of the standard personal protective equipment worn around site, Keene action is requiring that demolition workers wear specialized PPE during those situations as well when needed. Moving on to the staff and public interface, we know that Mondays through Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., the museum buildings will be open for access for both the public and staff included. While the public will have access to the east building, highlighted in red, 5 staff members will need access to the west building, highlighted in purple and located directly on site. In order to ensure that those staff members understand exactly the procedures for walking both onto and off of a construction site, we will ask them to be attending our safety indoctrination, where they will also sign our Code of Safe Practices as a subcontractor would. We will then hand them the necessary PPE in order to ensure that they are able to fully and safely access the site. While the east building's entrance isn't located directly on site, we will have proper signage to indicate where that entrance is and have our site security guard answer any questions that the public have. The area boxed in red at the south edge of this map indicates where the phase 2 fencing will be. That will also ensure that the public are not entering our site during that construction time while they have full access to the beautiful aquatic center pools. Keene knows and believes in itself when knowing that hazard mitigation is one of the most important things, but we do want to be prepared for any emergencies when they happen. Some of the services you see on screen here are ones that we'll be in full conversation with during the prior beginnings and in the heart of the construction industry and during our construction process with you guys. We will have a full talk down of the emergency action plan during our safety indoctrination. This will ensure they have a full understanding and will answer any questions site personnel may have during that time. Our evacuation plan details out a distinct 3-ring alarm system, which will indicate to site personnel when they should be evacuating the site via the primary or secondary gate during the first phase of construction, and then just the secondary gate during the secondary phase or phase 2 of construction. They will then follow those indicated paths highlighted in red and reach the starred mark point, that being DC Alexander Park. We will then assess the situation further from there. And finally, I wanted to discuss about our first aid station. This will contain a first aid kit, AED, and emergency eye wash station available for anyone's use on site. And we will also provide a pertinent safety information board located just nearby. As much as I'd love to talk more about safety, I want to pass it back over to Logan to discuss our amazing quality control plan.
Thank you, Quentin. Our quality control team members who couldn't be here with us today are John Byer, our quality manager, and Zach Winster, our quality engineer. Both of these team members have been extensively trained in Keene Action's 3-phase quality control process. This means we're there for our clients before construction begins and after turnover. We also offer a quality control awards program where employees can earn up to 1% of their annual salary. For this project, we are offering an extended 2-year up from the required 1 year for the entire project, as well as meeting all extended warranties. Technology that we'll be utilizing on this project is we'll utilize BIM for all pre-construction coordination, drone deploy for all site management, virtual reality headgear for on-site coordination as well as owner visualization, and Autodesk Build for our quality control documents as well as document distribution. At Keene, we like to get involved in the communities that we work in. For this project specifically, we'll offer a groundbreaking and ribbon cutting ceremony for the public, as well as monthly job site tours. For the Fort Lauderdale area, we'll partake in the Broward County Coastal Cleanup, as well as donate a prefabricated lifeguard tower to the surrounding beaches. I'll now pass it off to Doug. He's going to talk about our estimate breakdown.
For our initial bid from Addendum 1 and 2, it came out to $40.4 million, and for our adjusted bid from Addendum 1 through 5, it came out to $51.6 million. A couple of the areas I'd like to highlight is the concrete, metals, and special construction divisions. Our special construction came out to 4.2, and that includes all labor, materials, and equipment necessary to install and finish the pools. Metals came out to a little over $900,000, and that's approximately 55% labor and 45% material. Concrete came out to 12.2 million, which is roughly 55% material and 45% labor. We'll be self-performing concrete and metal on this project. That came out to 13.1 million, or roughly 26% of the entire project. Since we'll be performing 26% of the entire project, it'll help ensure high quality standards are met, since our concrete and metal crews have such a diverse and extensive knowledge in their fields from our past projects, as well as being able to meet any scheduling needs due to delays.
I'd like to summarize our presentation. Our initial estimate was $40.4 million with an adjusted bid of 51.6, with a substantial completion for phase 1 of May 11th of 2027 and a substantial completion for phase 2 of December 27th, 2027. We are safety and quality focused, and we're keen to take action on this project. Now I'll open up to any questions that you guys have.
I have a question. You mentioned in your previous projects, Shelby, you talked about concrete placements and hot weather. Can you elaborate on what your measures are for that?
Yeah, so our past projects, we did a lot of concrete pours for outside slabs, being in very hot weather conditions in California and such, and we learned how to have standby trucks just to keep the trucks moving, and just having a bunch of different measures as far as that goes.
Some other things that we've done is we've also adjusted our pour times to do them during colder times of the day, as well as having watering stations on site to cool down the drums of the trucks.
Are there any AHJs that you are concerned may impact the schedule for the project?
No, there's not. We have worked closely with a lot of these AHJs in the Fort Lauderdale area, and we do not see any delays with working with any of them.
What specifically are the 3 steps of your quality control process?
So our 3 phases of our quality control process, we have our pre-construction phase, our construction phase, and then our closing out and commissioning phase, and that'll help us reach occupancy.
We've got some budget challenges on the project. What value engineering ideas do you guys have?
So looking at the project, obviously a lot of the main costs are the concrete and the dive tower and stuff like that. So we can work to look at an alternative material for the dive tower. We can also look at different alternatives for the buildings, as well as looking at what projects there are in the future and maybe working that into this project that'll save you money in the future and help you with the budgeting issue in the future, but this project might cost a little more.
Another alternative we can offer is allowing us to start phase 2 earlier. Our subcontractors will already be on site. We can start demolition of the south building as well as doing demolition of the existing phase 1 projects, and it'll allow us to move up the schedule and save you a little bit of cost that way as well.
It's been brought to our attention that we may not be able to have electrical power for this job in time for turnover. What's your plan to mitigate that and ensure that we can actually turn this job on and turn it over on time?
So as soon as we get the notice to proceed, we can start working on pre-construction submittals so we can get that equipment, and we'll be able to have permanent power by the time substantial completion comes.
You show on your submittal register log that you can get panel boards in 40 calendar days. Can you tell me from who and how I can buy it?
Working with our electrical subcontractor, that's what they provided us with.
In your guys' RFP, you guys mentioned that you guys will adjust your schedule pending any supply chain delays. Can you kind of just walk us through what that means and how would you make those adjustments?
So with that, it's the same with our weather delays. We will adjust given, if there is a delay, we will add a weekend or something like that in order to make up for that delay and even out the schedule so we can still get you your project by our promised substantial completion date.
Thank you.
One of the things we're seeing a lot of in construction right now is with safety is hand injuries. How do you guys plan on preventing those on this project?
So one of the main focuses about those hand injuries as well is a lot of like cuts and lacerations that people are unaware about while they're trying to do something quick, like opening up a bunk up like plywood sheets or something like that, for example. One of the main things that we believe in is wearing rip-resistant gloves that help protect the hands overall, and also preventing anything with like pinch point situations. So when you are doing rigging with a crane, making sure you signal to the crane operator that your hands are free, out of the way, and ensuring that you're not going to have your hand pinched in that situation.
Awesome, thank you. Based on some of your long lead items, they're arriving to site before they're ready to be installed. What is your material storage plan for those pieces of materials before they can get damaged from weather or any sort of unforeseen event?
So with some of those long lead time materials, we'll actually store them at our facility at no cost to you. This is to protect those materials from the weather, as well as ensure that we will have them on time. We would rather have them in our facility and know that we're going to have them to have put on your project than waiting for a delivery.
Shelby, can you walk me through your plan to prepare for a hurricane event on site? We're concerned with, obviously, there's some very expensive assets that surround your site, those large yachts, and we want to make sure that our job site is not responsible for damage. So please walk me through that process.
We have accounted for some weather delays in our schedule, as well as we will do drone footage before and after each workday to ensure there's no damage on those yachts. Yeah.
Quentin, you want to talk further on it?
Yeah, so in a full discussion with that, we have an emergency weather kind of plan that's built out in our site-specific safety plan. It's one of our top 6 hazards that we wanted to cover. I also wanted to note that we also have a gap time that allows the workers to finish the work on site that needs to protect it by nailing down material, making sure that our equipment is lowered so it's not reaching any hazard with the high wind speeds, and then also ensuring that they have time as well to prepare their houses in the event of an emergency, because I know they live nearby and they're going to want to protect their families as well.
I have a question for Doug regarding the estimate. We're seeing a lot of inflation in the market currently. What mitigation have you put in your estimate to make sure that it covers any possible escalation you could see during the process of buyout?
So I included a 3 to 5% material escalation in my estimate to cover it on our end, as well as covering it. So we're not including it on change orders on you guys, causing you to pay more to us coming out of your pocket. That's already costing you $51.6 million.
And you're seeing that 3 to 5%, that's what the market's showing you currently?
That's what I projected, yes.
So would you consider Keene Construction a technologically advanced company?
We would.
I would say yes.
So with that then, what percentage or did you, yes or no, use ChatGPT or AI to put your submission together? This has no bearing on your school, by the way. We're just very curious.
We did not. Obviously, you guys are giving us your time. We want to give you our work and our proposal and give you our time. There's no reason why you should have a computer working on your project. Obviously, we believe that this is your team here. That's what we would like to give you.
Fantastic, thank you.
My name's Commissioner Glassman, and I represent the Beach District. I voted for your project and the funding of your project, and my constituents are very excited about the work that you're about to start. However, they've brought up concerns about noise during construction. I fully understand there's going to be noisy activities, but what's your plan to communicate with my constituents? I've got condo towers, I've got the boats surrounding the site, I've got hotels. What's your plan to communicate to my constituents your construction plans, when the noisy activities are going to be?
Yeah, so one of the main things that we'll be doing that's excessively noisy would be our pile driving, for example, when we're building out the excavations to have a safe dig into the ground in order for our pours to happen. So one of the main things that I think would be a good idea for us to do is get it out somewhere on like a newsletter or on some like mobile service feed to ensure that the public knows that there is a noise situation that's happening right now with the construction site, and also having boards posted around our site as well, indicating to the public outside that there are going to be noise during that day, and ensure that they understand that it's going to be noisy and we're sorry for the inconvenience.
Thank you.
You outlined in your proposal that you were looking at self-performing the concrete work. You also outlined that it was the most significant or maybe it was second most significant costs on the project. What measures did you take to ensure that, as the owner, we are getting the most cost-effective cost for the concrete work?
So with our crew's extensive knowledge and background from our past projects doing all this concrete work, we're very confident in our crew's ability to have a very low waste factor, as well as being able to complete and finish all of the concrete and not putting any of it to waste.
Did you receive competitive pricing from outside companies for the concrete work?
We did not.
If you were directed to receive competitive pricing, would you consider that?
We would not, since we self-perform concrete.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
With your self-performing the concrete and the pools, what technology measures would you propose using to ensure that the pool's going to meet the strict tolerances that we need for it to be a competition pool of world-class caliber?
So with that, we'll utilize total stations in order to measure the site and ensure that we're also utilizing this for when we set our auger cast piles. So we'll also utilize this for the competition pools. This will help us ensure those tight tolerances and ensure that we are giving you the pool that you paid for.
Thank you.
One final question for you. Is there anything that you found odd in the RFP as it pertained to your contractual obligation to us that you may have disagreed with, maybe in the realm of liquidated damages or anything like that?
I did not see anything when I was going through all of that. I did not.
Thank you.
One last question. You mentioned you have a QC program that gives your team 1% of their salary. Is that something you guys charge the owner for, or where does that pool of money get funded from?
That comes out of our overhead. You as a client is not charged that.
All right, with that, we will be concluding the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.